Okay, so for this one, I've used some of the grooves from the MIDI groove pack and pretty much just using like the default kit in Ultimate Heavy Drums. A few little tweaks, but essentially the same kick. Yep, default kick, default snare, default toms. And this is how it's sounding. These are some of the grooves. So let's check out the guitar tone. So this one has been recorded, section by section of the riff here. This was a demo that I was just sort of writing the riff and recording it as I went. So just all about just trying to get it tracked as quickly as possible. And to track guitars, I used the EVH 5153 number 9 profile. Quad tracked it, so 2 of them up at hard pan left and right, and then 2 slightly quieter minus nearly 7 dB pan to 85%. And the guitars just have like a C4 multiband compressor on it, which I also have on the main guitar bus. And this is how the guitars are sounding in the mix. So with the Kemper pack, you'll see at the very end of each profile, the last part of the chain, there is an EQ on, like a mix EQ. And sometimes there's one, sometimes I might have added an additional EQ because there's only a limited amount of bands. And when I record guitars, typically I'll turn those off and then I'll just have the raw Kemper tone and then EQ it as I see fit. And this guitar tone just sounds awesome as it is without any EQ. And I've done a bit more sort of broad moves EQ wise, but we can A/B it against the raw sound of just the mic on the cabinet versus the EQ'd sound right now. So there's just a bit of some whistly frequencies that are inherent just in certain cabinets or microphones. I might have used the 421 mic on this profile, I'm not too sure. So doing some basic low and high pass filtering, I'm going in at a bit more of a gradual slope for the low pass and the high pass here, and just carving out some of the mids. I always kind of like to see this area as the most prominent part of the guitar tone, that's going to be sort of like the loudest area of the tone. But in that area with cabs and certain microphones like the 421 and stuff, you just get certain whistly frequencies. So I've sort of notched them out, but not super surgical. So a bit more mid-range cut here. And removing some of the sort of murkier area. And then we can just listen to these. Cool, so that is the EQ for that one, and we can look at the C4 multiband compressor. So a lot of people, do this trick and it mainly just kicks in on the palm mutes. Something that not everyone does is just giving it a slight boost. So I've sort of like boosted this band by 1 dB and sort of set the threshold to try and get it to just kind of hover around that area and only duck on the palm mutes. But it may sort of go up a dB in this area on something like a pinched harmonic where there's no low end coming through. And sometimes it kind of just helps fill out the tone on like thinner parts, or like if you're doing like a higher notes or a high chord, and then you go back down to something low, it sort of helps even and balance out your tone a bit. So often overlooked by doing like a very slight boost of a dB on that band. But as I said, for the most part, I want to just see it hovering around there and then just ducking down for the chunky palm mutes. So yeah, it's a very cool amp. I love the 5150 Mark III. And you may have seen in some of my videos I do quite heavy-handed EQing on guitar sometimes. I wanted to make this one a bit more sort of broad strokes, just to show that the raw tones themselves are awesome, and you could potentially just have no EQ on that and still sound great in the mix. Cool. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoy the tones from this Kemper pack. I think it's the best tones I've got yet. These are merged profiles, so they work better if you're using, a cabinet with the Kemper and bypassing the cabinet section of a profile. And where applicable, they are liquid profiles, so they'll be more responsive, like the real amp, in terms of how, the EQ and the gain is set and that kind of thing.